So when segregation ended, right, black people, or when slavery ended, actually, black people were just forced wherever, right? So they had nowhere to go. And then there was laws put in place to put them into prison, and after,
It's
okay,
okay. No, no. What's your name? Guys, what's your name?
Jackson,
Jackson.
Jackson.
It takes a lot of courage to come up here.
Yeah, no,
Let's
I
just
know.
take a deep breath.
I,
Okay,
I,
I'm
I
not here
know.
to pick on you,
No, I
and
know. I need
I
to get my
appreciate
thoughts
it.
together.
No, no, it's okay.
I
know
I
that
knew I
this can be
was.
very intimidating getting into a crowd like this. So just take a deep breath. Let me make your argument. I'm going to make your argument for you, and I'm going to tell you.
Listen to how respectful Charlie is. This man will be missed. What's up, everybody? It's your Huckleberry here, back with another video. We're going to be watching another Charlie Kirk video. I never saw everything he did, so we're going back now and we're trying to watch through some stuff that we didn't see in the past. So without further ado, let's watch Charlie do his thing and remember him for the great individual he was and the respect that he showed everybody.
I think it's wrong. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the
Okay, yeah,
argument that is being made, that you want to make, is that there's legacies of injustice.
Yes.
And that those legacies impact one generation after the other. And when those things get handed down, you have what is a system or a systemic issue that isn't just isolated in 2024. So the argument that you're making is that what happened in 1954 does impact 2024 of decade after decade after decade.
And this is the premise behind reparations. That's why reparations is an argument. Because systemically, as he says, and I'll go further back from the 50s, let's just go back to like slavery. The argument is they've been put behind the 8 ball, so to speak, from 175 years ago and before. So it's that much harder for them to progress to this place where, let's say, white people are at. That's the. I don't agree with that. I understand the idea, the premise, but let's see how Charlie responds to it.
Let me tell you my response to that. Of course, there is some truth to that. However, every culture, every person in this audience can point to issues that families or generations prior had that were able to overcome. So the question is, why is it that Black America is one of the only populations, that and Native American populations, that have not been able to overcome such evil, horrors, and injustices? Here's my perspective, and I want to hear what you have to say. Is that the number one way to keep people out of poverty, lower the crime rate, and have a better society is whether or not you have a mom and a dad around. Would we agree that's an ideal? Yeah? Cool.
Yeah.
And so what happened in 1964 is that 25% of black youth were raised by a single mom. Today, it's nearly 75%, about 70%. So that means that 1 in 4 black kids will have a father around. Only 1 in 4. That's the number one issue happening in the country.
So in the last other video, it was 30%. Now it's 25%. So, I'm guessing either this video is more recent than the other video, or there's a ballpark he's working with.
And it's not because of systemic racism. I'd like to hear what you have to say about that.
Okay. So I think I misjudged you at first. Like when you brought up the 1350 stat, I had just assumed that it was like inherently like eugenics based, kind of. So, and that's where mine came from. Like I think we are on the same page that like we know what the problem is, and that's what I mean. Like
no,
the
and
education.
Thank you for saying that, because I think we actually have a lot more in common in this country than the media would ever believe.
No, definitely, right? And like what
I just can't get past the mutual respect that these gentlemen are having for each other, and then these arguments that we started hearing about how racist and bigoted and all that. I said that in the last video. It's so difficult to comprehend the angle. It's like anybody that said that didn't ever actually watch a single Charlie Kirk video. It's so aggravating.
my point was I was trying to say is I don't think that we're doing enough to help these black communities catch up. Where as like they're underfunded and they're not and they're over policed and there's just these factors that are contributing to, like you said, these single parent households.
Yeah, so we're not going to agree on this. This is where we'll disagree, and that's okay. I have more of a view of Thomas Sowell on this, where he believes it's far more about culture, values, and worldview than stuff and over policing. I believe there's not enough police in black neighborhoods. You're going to disagree with that. Let's not even get into it, okay? But I think we can ask a question, and I want your opinion. Why is it that the single motherhood rate in black America went from 25% to 75% over 50 years, where America did become less racist?
What, like, why did it?
Yeah, so what caused black America to go from one of the
Contraceptives, feminism. There's just two.
strongest nuclear family communities in the country to now
Sins being glorified, like rap music. I mean, I like rap music, but I mean, it's for a lot of young people that might not be able to comprehend or take it on its face value as it's just a bunch of talk. They go out and they live by what they hear, and a lot of what they're hearing is, unfortunately, you know, sinful and a, a breakdown or decay, that stuff that helps break down society. Um, but yeah, contraceptives as well, because as soon as people could just start going out and having sex with anybody and not have to reap the the baby repercussions, um, you know, it is what it is. Drugs, the crack epidemic, probably another one.
the weakest by far.
Um, I can't answer your
No,
question
that's
on that.
okay. No, that's great. And is again, it's hard to get up and have these conversations. Here's my opinion. My opinion is that yes, there was some social welfare that subsidized single motherhood, which means it's easier to get cash from the government if you say you are single than if you are married. I think we can agree that's stupid. That shouldn't happen, right? But
Damn,
I
that's a
would
good
love your
point.
perspective on this. Do you think in black culture, getting married and staying with one woman for your entire life is elevated and celebrated?
No, not at all.
I think that's the
No.
problem.
I think the problem stems from a lack of education. I think these communities
It's a good
don't
point.
have. I don't think a lot of them have the proper education or learning from previous to realize what will lead them to a more successful future.
They're not being raised to want the education, though, to desire the education, to push themselves to be smarter. Like, they're in these broken households where education isn't on the forefront. I mean, it is what it is. I agree with them. The education is a problem, but you got to have a desire to learn.
I think that if we funded more education in these systems, then these men wouldn't be so focused on stuff like gang violence to
Yeah,
get
so
protection or money
you
or
you have a
other
great
stuff like that, and then end up in prison and then end up with their child being having a single mother.
fair enough. So
Sorry, I didn't
no, no, no,
articulate
it's
that
great.
well.
So there's a lot of examples that there's some merit to your argument, but it's more about the quality of education than the amount of money we spend on it.
Yeah,
Such as that's why I'm a big proponent of school choice and educational vouchers and opposing the teacher unions. But the core is this is that the number one predictor for a kid of any skin color, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, is whether or not dad is around.
right.
And I look as an outsider, albeit, at current black culture, right? From the athletes to the rap music to the music, I don't see the nuclear family elevated, nor is it an internal black cultural expectation. Now, I will ask some of the white individuals here in this audience, okay? If you guys got pregnant and all of a sudden you didn't even know who the father was who was around, how would your parents react? Not great, right? Yes? Unfortunately, in black America, this is kind of accepted. Would you agree?
I can't say I grew up around a lot of white people, so I
All
can't
right,
say like
okay. Well,
I'm.
so, but it is a
Yeah,
fact that it is
sure.
accepted,
Yeah,
right? So that's
yeah.
the problem. The
I'm just saying
problem is
I
that
don't
it's
know.
a cultural norm that has then turned into the cycle of poverty. The cycle of poverty can break very quickly if fathers stayed with the women they
Okay,
impregnate.
but most of these fathers aren't just leaving. A large majority of these fathers are ending up in prison. Like
Okay,
this is
good point.
this
Why do you go to prison?
because you
You
commit
weren't
crimes,
raised
but
right.
Okay,
because
yeah.
the prison system has been targeted against against minorities.
Again, we're not going to agree here,
right,
and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's actually under enforcement of the laws when it comes where there's, for example, only half of murders in Chicago get solved.
Right, but are they all black people though?
Almost all of them, yeah. Like 80,
well,
80.
If they're not solved, how do we know that they're black people?
Well, because it's a black victim in a black neighborhood by a black gang. So it's like you can assume at a great approximation that in the west side of Chicago,
50% of the murders in Chicago that go unsolved are all black people.
Not all. No, I said 85%. But we don't know who the perp is. But again, if you have a black victim at 2 a.m. in a black neighborhood, it's reasonable to say that it was a black on black crime. 90% of murders after 2 a.m. in Chicago are black on black crimes. I'm from Chicago. Right. I happen to know it. Right. But like half of all murders in Chicago are unsolved, that means half of all murderers are walking free. So we have an under enforcement of laws. We have the ladies here in this audience should know this. You know that there's over 600,000 rape kits in this country that have not even been opened or tested, which means that there are women who say that they've been raped and their kits are not even put in the system. There are probably hundreds of thousands of rapists that walk free in this country.
Yeah, no, our system is
no,
totally
what I'm saying
terrible.
Though, that's an under enforcement of laws, though.
Yeah, because our system is terrible.
No, I know, but you said we have an over enforcement. I don't think we have enough people in jail.
You don't think we have enough people?
No, like I said, half of all murderers walk free. We don't even know who they are.
Okay, but I sure, whatever. But I'm talking. I don't think that I don't think that black people are as more than 50% of exonerations from prison are black people. Like a black person is more likely than any other race to be tried for a crime that they did not commit, and then to be released from prison for a crime that they did not commit.
That's not totally true. Let's pretend that it is. It's because they're in front of the justice system more because of the high crime. But let's try to find some agreement.
I'm talking percentages of exonerations.
No, it's because they're in the system more, though. It's because you have more cases. But anyway, let's pretend that's true.
Let's
pretend the system's totally racist.
Actually, there's more white people in the system because white people make up
no, for sure.
So you're just incorrect there, like you're doing to me.
But they don't commit as many crimes.
Okay, so let's be cordial. Let's be cordial.
You're not being.
Okay, this is kind of going off the rails, kind of like the last one did, where I don't know. I mean, these people get up on the mic and they're respectful, but I don't know if they're not going to win against Charlie. So I get you're trying to make a point, whether it's well spoken or not, and maybe this guy's getting a little bit aggravated that he can't articulate what he's trying to say, but he's getting a little bit of defensive and agitated right now, instead of just carrying on this conversation like it began.
So let's calm down a little bit, okay?
You're not being.
Am I being sweet to this guy?
Okay. But
all right. Let me ask you one question in closing, though. If you could say to Black America, here is more money, more stuff, more housing, or more fathers, which one would you choose?
More funding. I don't think, because fathers, I think that you need to solve the problem from the bottom. I don't think you can just plant a bunch of fathers in and they're going to stay there. Like you said, they're just going to, like in the culture, it's already.
So he's just stretching to make his point when he knows he's wrong. So to take his point, you start from the bottom. That would be the father being there when the kid pops out of the womb.
It's not part of the culture, so they would just leave.
It's a hypothetical, meaning if the fathers were to stay.
Were to stay?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. If I just knew for 100% fact that they were going to stay.
No,
sure.
we have agreement. So during the BLM stuff 4 years ago, did we hear anything from the national BLM leaders or anybody about black dads staying around with women they impregnate? Did anyone mention that?
No.
Why?
Because BLM was too busy wasting a bunch of money on mansions and cars and giving it out to their own relatives instead of at least giving it back to the George Floyd community or anybody else that actually was affected or apparently affected by whatever the cause was. I mean, BLM was one of the biggest scams we've ever seen. Now, I'm not suggesting that Black Lives don't matter. What I'm saying is that Black Lives movement was based on a scam, and if it wasn't, then how come the chick that started it and all her relatives moved out of a black neighborhood and live in Beverly Hills in their mansion with all their cars and get paid six figures a year when it was basically a fundraiser to help black communities in theory. BLM was a bunch of crock.
It's the fundamental issue. The fundamental issue is if you have a father around, less likely to commit crimes, more likely to graduate high school, more likely to get a job, less likely to be in poverty.
How do we get there? Like, this is what I'm like.
No,
how do we get there?
Well, the first of which is you must raise the standard of expectation, both internally and externally in the black community, that we're not going to put up with men, because we're both men, fleeing the women that they impregnate. Yeah. That we will say to men that flee the women that they impregnate, you're a loser, we're not going to tolerate you, we're not going to be friends with you, that you're the scum of the earth, that if you impregnate a woman and you just run away from them.
Most definitely.
Do we do that right now?
I don't think all men do. I think this is very common. What's the word I'm looking? I think this is very common in just masculine culture in general, is that men won't do that too.
I actually think it's the opposite of masculine culture. I think it's not feminine, it's something else. No. Just fleeing from the difficult.
Well, no, but I'm saying in male circles, I feel like that is something that males would praise.
Culture I think it's not feminine, it's something else. No. Just fleeing from the difficult.
Well, no, but I'm saying in male circles, I feel like that is something that males would praise, or at least around my age range. That's something that happens.
So then I think we need to demand better. Thank you for coming up to the mic. I know it's not easy, and God bless you. Thank you so much.
Again, guys, Charlie showed that gentleman the utmost respect and had a civil conversation with him. I would love to see a booth where somebody on the left can sit there and talk to people and have open dialogue. It's such a sad thing in this world when somebody like this, who was doing so much good out there about having conversations, gets dealt with like he was dealt with. But that's this video, guys. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed watching Charlie Kirk with me. I'm going to try to be watching more Charlie Kirk videos, maybe sprinkling them in. I'm trying to get a good idea of what you guys like to watch and what you don't like to watch. And, as much as I enjoy watching the police body cam videos, it seems like I'm not really getting as many clicks on those as possible. So I'll probably do maybe less of them and more of this. But there are a lot of things you guys do like. I do definitely enjoy doing the movie trailer reviews, since I worked in the movie industry for over 2 or 3 decades. So that's really fun to me. But anyway, guys, I'm going to stop talking here. I appreciate you coming out. I'm your Huckleberry. You can call me Huck. And until next time, peace!